Good morning. Welcome to NewsWare's Trade Talk for Wednesday, April 1st. Okay, let's get into the action. Take a look at the S&Ps, which are trading higher. We're up 0.76%, another nice strong gain. And it's supported by, the expectations that the conflict in the Middle East is really nearing an end. And remember, President Trump is scheduled to address the nation this evening. So, we'll be paying close attention to his commentary. On the economic front, we got a couple of good reports coming out today. You got the ADP employment report. You get the ISM manufacturing PMI report also due out. Key headlines, OpenAI closed its $122 billion funding round that's evaluating the company at $852 billion. Iran's, Guard, they're saying that they're, targeting major tech firms as possible targets if Middle East conflict continues. In deal news, Eli Lilly, they agreed to acquire a pharmaceutical firm for $7.8 billion. What else do we see? Oh, that Macau released their revenue for March, and they said casino revenue is up 15%. That's good for the casino stocks, something to keep an eye on. In terms of earnings news, PVH and Calamine Foods, ticker CALM, they're both trading higher after their earnings report. Nike, RH, they're both trading lower after their earnings reports. Okay, now we're looking overseas and we're looking at the DAX. The DAX is now up 609 points. That's 2.69%. We're seeing gains in financials, travel stocks. Almost all sectors are in the green. The FTSE's up 204 points. It's 2.01%. Airlines, banks, posting solid advances. The CAC in Paris up 2.02% or 157 points. Luxury's moving higher. Financial stocks are moving higher. Nice to see. Then we turn our attention over to Asia, and Asia was also green. We had Japan, the Nikkei index, jumped 2,675 points. That's 5.24%. And chip makers, AI stocks really led that rally. Hong Kong, the Hang Seng, was higher by 2.04%. That's 505 points with strength in biotech, shipping stocks, and material sectors. And then you had Shanghai in China, which was up 1.46% overnight with gains in techs, which offset the weakness that we're seeing in energy. But on the economic front, China's PMI, it eased to 50.8. For March. That's down from 52.1 in Feb. But still, it's still in positive territory. That's good to see. Now we're looking at oil, and oil remains the dominant issue to the markets these days. I mean, they're pulling lower. We got WTI at $98.81. That's down 2.54%. You got Brent trading at 101.72. That's down 2.16%. This pullback's expected. I mean, that's not surprising. But there are two key issues out there that still need to be, revealed. One, Strait of Hormuz. It needs to be fully open. We're not sure what's going on with that. We're not seeing the global oil shipments flow through the Strait of Hormuz. What's happened, it's very partial, it's sparse, it's sporadic. But once we get, those cargo ships going through that strait again, things will be better. Second is the production volumes. Remember, a lot of the OPEC nations pull back their production volumes, and those production volumes from the Gulf states need to be restored. And until both conditions are met, we're going to see oil prices in the 90s, and then we want to see them, pull back down into the 70s, but I don't think that's going to happen. Remember, oil goes up like a rocket and down like a feather. American Petroleum Institute, after the bell, they came out with their inventory results for last week. According to their data, inventories rose by 10.3 million barrels last week. That's negative for oil prices. Okay, we're moving on to earnings. Nike, ticker NKE. Listen, the report was not great. They delivered a beat. They did it on higher revenue, but the stock's trading off because of the guidance this morning. Then you got Calamine Foods. That's ticker CALM. That stock's up almost 4% this morning. They beat by 28 cents on higher revenue, which is nice to see. What else do we have on the economic front? This morning at 8:15 a.m. we get the ADP employment report. Should come in better than expected. At 10 a.m. we get the ISM manufacturing index, and at 10:30 we get the official EIA oil inventory report. In terms of Fed speak, Alberto Maslama, the St. Louis Fed, he's going to be speaking at 9:05 a.m. and then Fed Governor Michael Barr is going to be speaking at 9:10 a.m. this morning. In terms of stocks hitting the tape this morning, Apple. It's testing Siri features that process multiple commands at once. That's interesting. Iran's Revolutionary Guard says they're planning to target U.S. tech companies in the Middle East. I don't think they're really under that much concern, considering the tensions are starting to flame lower. Tesla's Q1 deliveries are expected to be lower than the December quarter. In terms of Dow Jones 30 stocks, Microsoft's OpenAI closed that $122 billion funding round, given a valuation of $852 billion. Wow. Also, Microsoft's dealing with some EU regulators. They're launching an investigation in their business software ecosystem. Boeing, Pentagon notes that it reached a framework deal with Boeing and Lockheed Martin to triple production capacity of PAC-3 missile seekers. In terms of guidance, whose PVH, they see Q1 EPS coming in at $1.65 to $1.80. Street estimate was $2.39. That's a downtick. RH, formerly known as Restoration Hardware, they see Q1 revenue down 4% to down 2%. Street estimates is $876.7 million, so that's kind of negative. And Nike sees Q4 revenue down 2 to 4%. That's why you're seeing the stock get hit. In terms of shareholders meetings, McCormick, MKC, they're holding a shareholders meeting today at 10 a.m. And Cinco and CNO, they announced a $100 million accelerated share repurchasing program. Citibank's out there with a neutral rating on ticker DOC, David Oscar Charlie, but they did open up a 30-day positive catalyst watch. In terms of my stock of the day, I'm just going to go with NVIDIA. I mean, you get the positive sentiments around OpenAI, you get the positive sentiments around the market this morning. Yeah, this thing could move. And then you look at the open interest, 1.4, the call volume from yesterday, 1.4 million versus 992 on the put side. That's positive, and open interest remains positive, 7.8 million to 6.9 million. So I like it. And the major brokers all love the stock. But for me, my price target's 175.5 to get in. Let's move on. Let's see if there's any hot stories hitting the tape in the last 15 minutes or so. Target Hospitality announced a $550 million data center contract, ticker TH, Tom Henry. Hasbro, HAS, disclosed unauthorized access to the company network. Richmond Fed Bank Thomas Barkin, he came out and says consumers not acting as if they expect long-term effects from oil shocks. They're going to be longer than you think. That's really all I'm seeing in the last 15 minutes or so. Okay, now we're going to talk about yesterday's pick of the day, which was Nike. Listen, it worked out. I mean, they beat by 7 cents. They did it on a higher revenue. Stock's trading lower this morning, but the stock opened up at $51.93, then hit a high of $53.11 yesterday. So the 1% was there. I mean, it's weakening this morning, but if you traded yesterday, it was a good trade. So that's positive. All right, traders, that concludes today's NewsWare's Trade Talk podcast. You guys know what to do. Let's go out there and let's make some green.